So a few years ago, Olan Rogers created probably one of the best adult animation series that's come out in a long time. And even though it's just been canceled, I know it wasn't canceled too long ago, I feel like it's good to respect these characters because I think that they all have a lot to offer. Their story has been cut in time like a little bit too short, if you ask me. But I think that for what we got out of this series, we got three really great seasons. Hopefully, we can get more in some form down the road. If you've never given Final Space a chance, it's not just a Rick and Morty knockoff. It's its own thing. It's super unique. It's a lot of fun. And I've never seen anything like it on television and probably won't ever again until Olan Rogers gets his next show. And when he does, Olan, call me. I will do your voices for you with you. It's fine. We're good. We can make it happen. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank these characters based off of where they fit in the line in terms of memorability. I noticed that this one focuses primarily on seasons 1 and 2. I don't see Triborg's son, unfortunately, but I'm going to make do with what we have. I'm going to go through it one by one and knock them out. So, I'm going to start with Gary, because Gary's probably one of my favorite protagonists in any form of media. Super obnoxious, super wild, very, very silly. The entire character is just jokes on jokes on jokes. And then to put that character in peril so often, I feel does a really good job. I think that it's well balanced. He's a really good anchor for the story because, when he gets more serious, it's time to take things seriously. He's a good gauge for the audience, a good stepping point, and definitely one of the more interesting protagonists of any series in the past few years. In terms of, comparing him to other space protagonists, you can compare him to Rick and Morty, you can compare him to, pretty much any character from Lower Decks. He does stand out because he's very, very cartoony, and I feel like it's one of those mediums where they really take that idea of cartoon and really run with it. They take the idea that things don't have to fit in any particular way, shape, or form. They can just be big and silly and boisterous and have a lot of fun, and I feel like Gary epitomizes that. So if you've never given the show a chance, really do give it a chance. It's so much fun. He's so silly, and the first season is just a laugh riot half the time, then turns into a very serious drama, but we'll get to that. The show does a good job of balancing everything. Ash. I think Ash is a great secondary protagonist / antagonist for the last season. I feel like they do a really good job of developing her as well. I have to say, I've always been a fan of Ashley Birch ever since she did Hey Ash, What You Plan. I do think that there's something very unique and interesting about her. I love the character. I love what they do with it. And overall, it's a lot of fun. Definitely one that I think more people should give a chance to. I really liked her struggle in particular. I feel like they do a really good job of building up her past trauma without making it inaccessible, without making it triggering. It's very engaging and very exciting, and they do a really good job with her and her own mental health struggles and what that means for her going forward. So definitely, in terms of a secondary protagonist / antagonist figure, I feel like she fits a really good niche in that area and does a really good job of creating that character and developing it going forward. Avocado. His name is a joke. That's about as deep as the name goes. As a character, he's a lot of fun. He is a very caring father. He has a lot of interesting battle tactics. They start off as a very antagonistic figure and quickly turn into Gary's best friend. So he develops a lot as a character throughout the series. They do use, the only reason he's in the B tier and not higher is because I feel like they use him waffling a little bit too much in the later seasons. So it's just am I evil? Am I good? Am I not? Oh, that's probably a bit of a spoiler as well. But, he does stick around in an interesting way. They do keep the character going in ways that you wouldn't expect. So definitely one that you would want to look at, and definitely one that they do enough job of, especially the relationship to his son, Lil Kano. Lil Kano's very sweet and innocent, and then to see how fast he has to grow up because of circumstances. They do a good job on him. Bolo. Typical god character. His design is excellent. I will say that. They do a really good job of building him up. They do a really good job of establishing this other force. And overall, I think that they do a really good job of creating him and giving him the sense of power and just this otherworldly major figure that just blows your mind. So Definitely one that I think gets overlooked. I'm glad he's on this list. And yeah, their voice actor for him, he's in everything, and he does such a good job here too. I will say Clarence is not a character that I warmed up to, which is a shame because I feel like they could do a lot more with him. He's a little bit too one note, even though he's played by Conan. You can tell that there's not as much love for Clarence. He's kind of a character that gets crapped on a lot and then doesn't really change towards the end. He never really has an arc. He never really has any kind of progress as a human. Well, not even as a human, as a character, as an alien. They don't do much with him, which is disappointing, and there's so much more that could have been done. So, Fox is a character I still want to know more about. I really liked Ron Funches being the voice behind him. I think that he does a great job with the character. But, like, 3 seasons in, we barely find out anything about him, and then, you know, things happen, and you still, like, I feel like he's used more as a prop, which is funny. He's kind of used in a way a lot of female characters are used in science fiction, where they have, like, the female prop, the female who has to get pulled along and done stuff with. But do they do enough with Fox? I don't think so. And it's disappointing because you want there to be more. You want there to be that integrity that you want to know more about this character, and you're kind of robbed of the experience. So that's disappointing. Oh my gosh. I love this character. I love what they do with this character. The robot just voice is so well done. I mean, you're getting Tom Kenny to voice it, and it just works so well. He works as great as the framing mechanism at the beginning of the series, and overall, you just really fall in love. So definitely one. Not as much as with Mooncake. Mooncake is definitely probably the one character that you fall in love with the most. But, you know, how can you hate Mooncake? Such an overpowered character. Definitely a character that doesn't serve as much purpose later on, which I feel like is kind of very much a robbed storyline. You really want Mooncake to shine, and you really want Mooncake to be integral. And he's super integral to the first season, which I think is what makes it the strongest one. But then as he goes on, doesn't quite have as much to do. So that's always a bit disappointing. But still very good. Still very fun. I was hoping Olan would do more with him going forward, but we'll see. You never know. Kevin is probably one of the more interesting, aggravating characters I've ever seen. He has no redeeming qualities, but always stays true to his programming. He always has fun. Like, it's insanely fun. Fred Armisen does a great job with voicing him. It's worthwhile. It's still fun. What can I say? Lil Kano. Lil Kano is a great character done well. He does have a really good sense of growth throughout the series. You get a sense of his trauma without it being traumatizing. You get a sense of what he's gone through without having to put yourself fully in the position that makes you uncomfortable. It's done. He's done well. But I don't think I have any issues with Lil Kano. Maybe a bit too much of a golden child at points, where it's just like, oh, I can do this magical thing with technology. So he's a bit of a scapegoat character in that way, but they balance him off well. Like, you get to see his relationship with his father, his relationship with Gary, and you see him really develop as a young adult character without ever feeling like an aggravating character. So I feel like they do a good job there. The Lord Commander. The Lord Commander is a really good villain character. The power that he possesses, the fact that he almost disintegrates in front of you multiple times. They do a great job of balancing his vulnerability and his just extreme rage. And yeah, definitely one that if you haven't got a chance to see what he can do, it's worth watching. David Tennant does a great job with the character, and I think you can't have that kind of just messy, emotional, like, angry character with almost no redeeming qualities, but they build up his backstory really well. It's well done. The whole series, they do a really good job of balancing the good and the bad and everything else. So Tribor is hilarious. Easily the second favorite character in the series. I think they do just enough with him to keep him hilarious while still keeping him grounded. So definitely one of the more fun characters in this whole bunch. And it finally brings us to Quinn / Nighthawk. They underdevelop Quinn to an extreme extent. her only real purpose is to be Gary's love interest, and considering she's only one of two, technically three female characters if you include Nighthawk. Nighthawk is slightly better, but not by much. I'll put her in front of Bolo because what? She really does feel a bit more like a prop character who just happens to be in the right place at the right time. She falls in love with Gary a bit too easily, but it's coming. And going forward, she does kind of become like a Rose Tyler character, where the love is what keeps them together, keeps them strong. I don't ever fully buy their bond, but I have to admit I appreciate just the sweetness of it. I think that they do a really good job. So this is Final Space. I don't know if we'll get any more of it. Hopefully one day we will. But until then, I do think it's worth watching, and I hope that you get the chance to enjoy this show sometime very, very soon. Until next time. Thank you for watching. My name is Matti McLean. You can find me on problematic streaming platform Spotify at A Canadian in Eurovision. You can find me online on Twitter and Instagram at The Big Shabam. And finally, if you like what you've seen here and you want to help me out, feel free to like, subscribe. It really does help. And also, if you want to see me do something next, don't be afraid to tell me. Looking forward to hearing from y'all soon, and you have a great day now.